the whole point is to really make it as simple as you can for other people. So we could geek out about some video stuff, talking about the quality, talking about all the different tools and everything like that. And that could go over so many people's heads. But how can you make it to a point where a 9-year-old can understand it?
Hey, welcome back to the Video Entrepreneur Podcast by Uscreen. This is your host, Rob Balasabas, Head of Partnerships at Uscreen. In this episode, we have Nicky Saunders joining me to talk about social media marketing and what it takes to grow an online community. Nicky Saunders is the strategist behind the growth of motivational speaker Eric Thomas's online community, increasing his Facebook and Instagram accounts from 300,000 followers to over 2 million followers in just a year and a half. Currently, Nicky Saunders is the co-host of the Nicky and Moose Podcast, where they take an inside look into the world's top personal brands and businesses to reveal the blueprint behind their success. Now, before we talk with Nicky, I would love for you to take a moment and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting platform. And also, if you're enjoying this content, please leave a review or a comment, and that'll go a long way in getting this content out to fellow creators out there looking to build a solid business using their videos. And with that, let's meet Nicky Saunders. Nicky, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here. Excited to really dive into videos and Instagram and business with you. So before we get started, why don't you share a little bit of an introduction about yourself and your business, your content, and some of the things that you've been doing?
Sure. Kid from Queens, right?
There you go.
One of the lovely half of Nicky and Moose, the podcast, CEO of Deeper Than the Brand, but pretty much a person who got very addicted to creating videos and social media and figured out how to make it a thing. So, worked with Dr. Eric Thomas, a motivational speaker, and took his social media from 300K to 2.1 million on Instagram, over 1 million on Facebook. My team helped with the YouTube to get that over 1 million. So, I know a few things about creating content and the whole social media world, just stuff like that.
Just a few things. Just a few things.
Not too much. Not too much. Just a few.
Not too much.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible. Where did you get started? Like working with Eric?
Yeah.
Was that like already kind of like well into the journey?
No.
On social media and videos? Was it?
That was the
beginning.
That was the beginning. So the crazy thing was, I was in the Navy for 9 years as an IT. Didn't touch nothing about social media. Never did a video, nothing like that. And then when I got out, I was kind of very lost and didn't know what to do because I just wasn't happy with that. Like I could make a lot of money on IT, but I wasn't necessarily happy. So once I saw E's videos and everything like that, I was like, I got to figure out how to just be around this guy. So I ended up volunteering at the events in the community. I was just everywhere. And they were like, you want to try this? You want to try that? And I was like, cool. And the thing was, for just like a hobby, I would take his voice and put it into mashup videos. So match his voice with something that's happening with sports or, an emotion or something like that, right? And I would just do that just for fun. And they were like, yo, you want to take over the social media? This was about 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'm highly addicted to it, so why not? So, but I led with what as a fan would want to see from the account. So I led with value. I led with, we want to see more of the motivation. We don't necessarily care about the events and what you have selling or anything. It's more of what are you going to do when we need you? What are you going to do? What are you going to say when we are down and out? And I just started cutting up videos that just went straight to the point of the motivation. And after that, the account just started skyrocketing, and we just grew from there.
That's awesome. And then, so working with them, I think that's a really good lesson too. There's a lot of people that, trying to get into the game and social media and videos and be on YouTube and stuff. But like what you did there to get with Eric's team is just, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So volunteering and doing things like maybe at, for free or, like just to get the experience and the reps. I think that's really a good lesson. That's when I first started, I was at a tech company doing tech support, like emails, 80 emails, 100 emails a day.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, guys, why aren't we using like Instagram? I'll do it for free. I'll just do it on the side after work.
Right.
And then eventually became social media manager and doors opened up, so yeah.
That's how it normally is. It's like, I'm big on proving your value, especially in something that you just, is new to you. Like, so right. If you could get your reps in early and figure out the right formula, then that's just a platform or opportunity to kind of leverage to be able to get paid later on. But at that beginning part, while you're still getting your feet wet, like get all the reps in as you can. And that right, I was very blessed with that opportunity.
Yeah. It's not free. I looked at it as like, that's the cost of education.
Oh, yeah. On the job training situation.
On the job training. That's it. All right, cool. So then you're working with Eric.
Yeah.
And then at some point, when did you start breaking out and doing your own thing and creating your own brand? And, the podcast, I don't know if that was early on or afterwards.
No, the podcast happened during the pandemic. Shout out to the pandemic. That was
there you go.
Yeah, that was a blessing and that was a weird time, but a blessing at the same time. So I started doing my brand probably like I want to say 2 to 3 years after, right? And that's normally like I couldn't figure out how to balance being a behind the scenes person, but yet taking social media so serious. But I realized that, the behind the scenes people need to have a voice and showing what the true formula and systems are, right? Because looking at social media at first, I was like, I don't want to necessarily be the front runner. I don't want to necessarily be, this talent and everything like that. And that's not my thing. But I'm realizing that people wanted to know how it was built and how it was done. And not necessarily like me per se. They fell in love with me as I started to show up. But I needed to understand that it is the same way that I led with value on Eric Thomas' platform. I need to lead with value on my own platform. And from then on, I just started showing up as myself, just leading with like, okay, this is how you do this on Instagram. This is how you formulate your content. This is how you do, a content mission statement, and just started giving out tips like that. It started to catch. And then I realized like, okay, if I'm doing it consistently over here, I got to do it consistently on my platform. So everything that I learned by doing other people's platforms, I applied it to mine, and it just started to, kind of pop itself.
Yeah. No, that's really good because I guess, when you're starting out, the value is like the how-to, right? There's like a couple different ways that you can provide value. Yeah. Like everybody's like, lead with value. But did you find that yours was tutorial content and then, tutorial content?
Yeah, it's always, and it's great because, what I've realized is that you always want to make your brand a need and not necessarily a want. And the need of learning how to build a brand with content was so high recently, especially during the whole pandemic. Like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm supposed to create content. How am I supposed to do that? All that great stuff. So the whole point is to really make it as simple as you can for other people. What I was realizing was there were so many people that was being very complicated, not complicated, but as somebody who's in the game, you could geek out onto your own stuff, and you realize, right? You realize that not everybody understands the language. So we could geek out about some video stuff, talking about the quality, talking about all the different tools and everything like that. And that could go over so many people's heads.
Right.
Because I was the one that was trying to learn it and it went over my head. And so I was like, okay, and not only do you do the how-tos, but how can you make it to a point where a 9-year-old can understand it?
Right.
How can you make it to where, you know, it doesn't matter the age, 72, 9 years old, 6 years old, and they pretty much understand, okay, I use this app. Okay, I do this. Oh, I go live. I do this. So it was more of, yes, the how-tos, but making it as simple and plain as you can on a very consistent basis, because the consistency part was one of those things that consistency is rare, no matter what industry it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I like what you said about just making it simple, because actually I think a lot of content creators, entrepreneurs, people that are selling their knowledge, I think they think when they come off first that they need to make it complicated so that they get paid for their information, and then people are going to keep asking them questions. But in fact, it's the guys that make it simple that are paid well, because that's what people are paying for. Like, simplify it for me, dumb it down so that I can do it. You know, isn't that true?
It's more of how simple can you make it, and how systemized can you make it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we don't necessarily. I heard this shout out. I heard this on the Lewis Howes podcast, but it's not about, people don't pay for the information. That's free. We can find that on YouTube, right? But what people pay for is access and a central location of information. You know, so if we think just off top, yo, I'm not going to say everything on social media because they can't get all the information, they got to pay for it. We could find that anywhere else. Like, you're not that, you're special, but you're not that special, right? It's what are you doing with it? How much access do we get to you? And how easily are you making it to a step-by-step process that I don't necessarily have to read a book, go to a blog, and go to YouTube to find out this information? Because if I really wanted to, I could do all that, and it'll be free 99, even though it's my time.
That's right. That's right. It's that system that you can repeat so that somebody will be able to follow your process to repeat the same success you've had. Like, if somebody wants to get the same success on Instagram as you, Nicky, then you've got a process. Here's a step-by-step, how many posts, what kind of format, same thing with like athletes, let's say, right? Like, athletes will hire the X gold medalist because they want that same success. And like, how did you get there? You must have a process. So yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah. Access and sort of a centralized hub or location for all that content. Yeah. I like that.
Exactly.
I like that. I want to talk to you about, because you're a creator, you're an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
And you deal with a lot of, entrepreneurs and creators, and that sort of, those two terms are colliding a lot these days, right? Like, there's a lot of, even like in the software world where I play a lot in, there's a lot of founders that are also creators. Yeah. They're busy on LinkedIn making videos. They're busy on Instagram, like representing as the face of their company, which back in the day wasn't a normal thing. But I feel like there's more entrepreneurs that are creators. What are you noticing out there? Like, when you're, on social?
So I think we may say that because we're in this world, right? So
maybe.
Maybe. So it seems as if everybody is all of a sudden starting to be this amazing content creator, right? Or want to be one. But I can't intelligently say it because I follow, content creators and entrepreneurs who are getting into the content game, right? But I think it goes based off, we understand where the world is, and we are the new media. Right. So we're not necessarily looking at CNN and ESPN and everything first for our news, for what's happening, what's relevant. We're looking at influencers and content creators. Right. We're looking at media outlets and things like that. So I think understanding where the world is, people are starting to kind of position themselves as being that source of where people will go to now, instead of our traditional ways. And so, especially like, and I'm going to keep bringing up, the pandemic opened the eyes for a lot of people of how much we do rely on social media and how much we do rely on content. And it's like, okay, I don't think it'll happen again, but I got to get myself straight, and I got to put out more information. I got to put out more motivation. I got to put out more entertainment, because if not, I'm going to get left behind. The people who may not be better than me is putting out way more content than me and making a lot more money, whether it's from the platforms, whether it's from their, their membership programs and things like that, whether brand deals or whatever. They're making a lot more money because they're more visible. I may be the better candidate, but they're way more visible. So I got to switch that up. So I think with reports like with the whole Forbes list of the top YouTubers, the top TikTokers, seeing how people are getting paid on these platforms, it's just now making it more tangible and more reachable for the regular Ashley to do exactly the same.
Nicky, thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the podcast, and looking forward to seeing you in San Diego, Social Media Marketing World.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicky. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. And if you want to learn more about building your video business on Uscreen or want to join our affiliate partner program, head over to uscreen.link/podcast to get more information. And I'll see you in the next episode.